All right, attorney Katie Jackson-Lindsay, thank you for joining us to talk about the Derek Chauvin trial. Let's start with the question. The judge decided today to keep the same venue. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I think that Judge Cahill's decision on that motion required him to balance Derek Chauvin's right to a fair trial against the practicalities and the logistics of moving the trial. And I think that his decision was the right decision. As we discussed previously, this is a issue, this is a case, this is an event that has been so widely publicized. And so it's just not realistic, as he actually said, to think that this is a sufficient reason to move it just because of the media attention around that settlement. And Judge Cahill's words were that the pretrial publicity will continue throughout the course of the trial. And so there undoubtedly will be another issue next week. And so to move the trial to a different venue in Minnesota just didn't seem practical to me, because you also have to consider that the prosecution has the right to a fair trial, and moving it to a different venue could cause a less diverse jury pool, in addition to all the expenses that are included with that. And so I just don't think that the media exposure was a sufficient reason to move it under these circumstances.
Defense attorneys for Derek Chauvin wanted the trial delayed. The judge says no, let's stay on schedule. You alluded to it last week that the judge would try to keep it on schedule. So this didn't come as a surprise to you either.
No, it didn't. And it's for that same reason as his ruling on the motion for change of venue. The pretrial publicity on any issue is just not enough to consider delaying this trial. You know, this Judge Cahill, has a very serious job here in terms of avoiding the outside distractions that will undoubtedly come along with this case. And I really think he's doing a good job of requiring the parties to stay the course and move forward. Because while in the justice system, it's important that we do things right as opposed to fast, it's also important that this community gets some closure. This is a highly emotional case. This is a highly publicized case. And so one way or the other, each side deserves a conclusion.
And the judge also put some restrictions on what he will allow from the paramedics who attended to George Floyd during this incident. But he also said that he would allow the paramedics to testify. Your thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised by that ruling either. What we have to remember and stay focused on is that the issue for this jury is whether or not Derek Chauvin caused George Floyd's death. There's no question that he had his knee on his neck for over 9 minutes. There's no question that George Floyd died. The question is whether or not Derek Chauvin's behavior amounted to criminal conduct that caused his death. And so I think that 2019 incident, the evidence that Judge Cahill is allowing in is relevant because it goes to a prior police encounter that resulted in a medical episode for George Floyd. But I still stand on what we discussed previously, that I think it's a slippery slope for the defense. And I think that that evidence could go either way, because I've had an opportunity to review that portion of the body cam footage that Judge Cahill has said will come in. And when I view that, I don't see what the defense attorneys in this case see. I don't see a situation where he was combative with the police before, and so it shows his overreacting to police conduct. I see a man who's afraid of the police because of his experiences with Minneapolis police officers, and I just don't think that's good evidence for the defense. And undoubtedly, prosecution is going to say, yes, these paramedics will testify that he had a medical episode before. Yes, they will testify he ingested drugs on that prior occasion. But the difference is here, he did not die from that. He died this time because Derek Chauvin's knee was on his neck. And so I'm really surprised at how hard the defense in this case is pushing that evidence.
The jury selection has been up and down, 12 chosen already. Sequester or not sequester in this case?
I say absolutely sequester. It sounds like that's not going to happen until deliberations, but I'm honestly very shocked by that. You know, I've not been surprised by many of Judge Cahill's decisions, but that one I am surprised by. And I would liken this to the O.J. Simpson trial. It's not the same issues. Obviously, we're not dealing with a celebrity here. However, the publicity is much greater. And so this idea that the jurors may potentially be tainted by what they see every day in terms of media coverage, they're not supposed to watch that coverage. They're not supposed to follow the news, but in their daily conversations within even their family members, you have to believe that in some way they could be exposed. So I'm obviously not the judge. I don't get to decide, but I would think that sequester would be appropriate under these circumstances.
All right, Attorney Katie Jackson-Lindsay, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.